You're right. Trust is not always earned. My name's Adrian, I'm 34, and I've been coordinating media outreach at Liberty One Partners, a mid-sized PR agency based in Richmond, Virginia, for the past 6 years. When my boss, Sasha Monroe, the press secretary for a rising congresswoman, told me to publish a press release claiming our client had secured a meeting with a major tech CEO, I hesitated. I said nothing at first and just hit send on the email she drafted. While she watched me from her glass-walled corner office, the release was full of bold claims. Meeting confirmed, CEO enthusiastic, national rollout imminent. Except, it wasn't true. Sasha had made it up. 3 days earlier, I double-checked with my congressional client's office. They'd explicitly said the meeting was tentative, not confirmed. Sasha insisted on going ahead anyway, saying it would force the tech company's hand. Boldness sells, she told me with a sly grin. But I felt uneasy. Ethics mattered. Still, I'd worked under her for 2 years. I'd always kept quiet. This time, though, something felt off. By 9 a.m. next morning, regional TV stations picked up the story. Social media buzzed. Local blogs ran headlines. Congresswoman's team just landed a tech titan deal. Then, the CEO himself tweeted, "No meeting scheduled. Please issue correction." My heart sank. In minutes, the fabricated claim unraveled. Reporters reached out demanding comment. By midday, Liberty One's office was flooded with crisis calls. Our client's political reputation took a hit. Sasha stormed into my cubicle and hissed, "It's not your fault, you followed orders." But I saw something odd. She was nervous. Her signature piano-shaped necklace was missing. That necklace had belonged to her grandmother. She wore it every day without fail. As the afternoon unfolded, things spiraled. News outlets began quoting internal emails, leaked by someone at the CEO's office, showing my email disclaimers warning about the meeting status. Sasha had erased them before sending. Someone saved them. She deleted the cautious lines, but digital traces remained. At 3 p.m., Liberty One's CEO called an emergency meeting. Sasha was suspended, effective immediately. No severance, no transition, for compromising client integrity. More humiliatingly, her name popped up in damaging quotes. Led by ambition, unchecked. Unethical shortcuts. My role was mentioned. Employee who flagged concerns, painting me as the whistleblower. I packed up my workstation, framed photos of my family, my coffee mug, and slid out of my desk as people stared. I shook hands with my colleague, Morgan, quietly thanked her for support. Sasha's office door was ajar. She stood inside, staring blankly at her now empty desk. I left the building feeling oddly calm. 6 years I'd built my reputation on meticulous fact-checking and transparency. I'd built trust with clients who relied on me, not sensational lies. I'd never had so much as a late assignment. Yet Sasha degraded all of that in pursuit of one viral claim. Walking to my car, I remembered a lesson my mother taught me. Truth is your only shield. She spent 40 years as a journalist, always priding on the byline. She said one lie, even a small one, can ruin a legacy. That's how I'd lived my career. Precision over flash. Now, the question wasn't anger. It was clarity. Sasha had weaponized falsehood under the guise of bold PR. But she overlooked one thing. Digital breadcrumbs never lie. That evening, I began drafting my plan. A simple professional leak. Internal emails to a reputable local political reporter, with metadata intact, showing Sasha's edits. No drama, no threats, just facts. Integrity would speak louder than sensationalism. With Sasha's pattern of audacious falsification exposed, the power would shift, and her facade would crumble. Not through retaliation, but through truth. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table sipping lukewarm coffee, staring at the email thread that could end Sasha Monroe's career. There it was, my original draft, time-stamped, with the line, "Please note, this meeting is tentative, not finalized. Do not position as confirmed." And there, her edited version, with that line deleted. The final release sent under my name. The digital signature showed she'd opened the doc at 10:14 a.m., changed the language, then pushed it out to media outlets. I hadn't thought to check her version before clicking send. My mistake. But now, my redemption. I saved both versions to a secure folder. Then I made a call. Clint Rudman, senior political correspondent at the Commonwealth Ledger. We'd crossed paths a few times at briefings. Sharp guy. No appetite for spin. I told him I had something that might interest him, about the fallout at Liberty One, and how the now-suspended press secretary had manufactured a talking point that backfired on a sitting congresswoman. He paused on the phone. Can you prove it? I emailed him the document trail while we were still talking. Silence on the line. Then, Jesus. She cut the disclaimers. This isn't spin. This is fraud. By noon, Clint called back. He was writing a piece, front page of the Sunday edition. Wanted to include anonymous attribution from a source close to the internal comms team. I agreed, but with one condition. Include the metadata screenshots. People need to see how deliberate it was. He chuckled. You want scorched earth? No, I said. I want precision. A scalpel, not a bomb. By Saturday evening, rumors were swirling. Twitter threads dissected the PR meltdown. People started noticing the timestamps on press releases didn't match official congressional communications. And Sasha? She went dark. No tweets. No LinkedIn updates. Her personal website, usually a shrine to glowing media quotes, redirected to a 404-page. Sunday morning, the article dropped. Headline: Fabricated press? PR misstep damages congressional image. The article detailed how a key member of the Congresswoman's media team, Sasha Monroe, had revised internal communications to present speculative meetings as finalized events. It included side-by-side screenshots of my original draft and her edited version. A media ethics professor from UVA was quoted saying, "This isn't just misleading. It's malpractice." The blowback was immediate. National reporters picked it up. One of the cable news networks ran a segment on the dangers of overzealous spin. And then came the kicker. The Congresswoman's team, furious about being implicated, released a statement distancing themselves from Sasha completely, called her actions unauthorized and misrepresentative of our office. They fired her. Publicly. Sasha's fall wasn't quiet or private. It was a plunge from the 35th floor, cameras flashing the whole way down. And as I sat in my apartment, still technically on leave from Liberty One while they conducted a full review, I realized something. The moment you erase truth for convenience, you leave fingerprints. Digital ones, ethical ones, ones that show up on Sunday morning when the whole state is reading. And this was just beginning. By Monday morning, the office at Liberty One Partners felt like a funeral home, except nobody brought flowers, and the corpse was Sasha Monroe's career. I walked in early, around 7:40 a.m., expecting silence. Instead, I found Jordan Klein, our COO, pacing by the espresso machine like a man bracing for litigation. He looked up as I entered, blinked twice, and muttered, "Adrian, you're early." "I never stopped being early," I replied, brushing past him to my desk. My inbox was a disaster. Over 100 unread emails. Subject lines like, urgent, statement draft needed, client response plan, legal review pending, hold external comms. One from HR simply read, follow-up, confidential conversation request. At 9 a.m., I was summoned to the 6th floor conference room, the one with the long walnut table and the always too cold air conditioning. Waiting inside were Jordan, our legal counsel, and Marcy Lee, the new interim head of PR. Jordan folded his hands. "You were the source for the Ledger article." It wasn't a question. I provided documents that proved Sasha fabricated a claim. I made no commentary. I gave facts. Marcy, barely looking up from her tablet, asked, "Why not bring this to internal leadership first?" I looked her straight in the eye. Because internal leadership was complicit, or asleep at the wheel. You let her ghostwrite congressional quotes without approval. I flagged it twice. Silence. Legal scribbled something down. Then Jordan sighed. "You're not in trouble. Technically. But you've embarrassed the agency. Clients are rattled. We need to manage perception. There it was. Not an apology. Not a thank you. Just more spin. Damage control. Branding over truth. I didn't embarrass the agency, I said calmly. She did. I just held up the mirror. That afternoon, the dominoes kept falling. Two of our biggest clients, Senator Aisha Trent's re-election campaign and Woolbridge Biotech, issued pause notifications. Corporate speak for, we're reevaluating our partnership and you're probably fired in spirit already. Staff Slack channels were a mess. People speculating if the firm would survive, who would be next, whether Liberty One had any credibility left. But the wildest moment came just before 5 p.m. I got a call from an unlisted number. A woman's voice, controlled, careful. This is Karen Glass, Director of Communications for the Office of Congressional Ethics. We'd like to speak with you about the Ledger story. In confidence. I froze, then grabbed a pen. She continued, if the internal edits Sasha Monroe made were known to be false, this could qualify as an intentional disinformation act under House Communications Ethics standards. Do you have records? I replied, every single one. They scheduled a preliminary Zoom interview for Wednesday. No lawyers yet, just background gathering. She made it clear, I wasn't under investigation. I was a witness. That night, I walked the brick-paved sidewalks of downtown Richmond, past the shuttered bookstores and quiet coffee shops, replaying the last 72 hours in my mind. Sasha's recklessness had almost taken me down with her. But now, she was unemployed, possibly disbarred from federal communications contracts. Her name, once whispered with admiration in Capitol backrooms, was now trending on Reddit threads about PR gone rogue. And me? I was the man who told the truth, with receipts. But I also knew, this story wasn't done. The stakes were growing. The fallout hadn't finished falling. And if Liberty One wanted to bury the rest, I was going to dig even deeper. By Wednesday morning, I had already reviewed the internal documents 3 times before my scheduled call with the Office of Congressional Ethics. I wasn't nervous, not about the facts, at least. But something had shifted. The air inside Liberty One was thicker now, colder. People had stopped making eye contact. Hallway conversations ended the second I entered. I'd been rebranded, not as a whistleblower, but as a threat. At 10 a.m. sharp, I clicked the Zoom link. Karen Glass appeared on the screen, gray suit, minimal expression, framed by a wall of books. Another staffer, Julian Meeks, joined silently, notepad in hand. Karen opened with formality. This is not a deposition. You're not under investigation. This is a fact-finding interview. She asked for a timeline. When Sasha had altered the press release, what she told me, who else was in the loop. I answered everything clearly, shared my screen, walked them through timestamps, revision histories, email headers. At one point, Julian leaned forward. She removed a disclaimer about the meeting not being confirmed, and then signed your name to the final draft. I nodded. Twice. Karen scribbled something, then said flatly, that's a problem. They thanked me, said they'd be in touch. And then came the moment that caught me off guard. Karen leaned back slightly and said, almost as an afterthought, Mr. Price, are you aware there's a second release she attempted to publish? One we intercepted. My stomach dropped. No, I said. What was it? It implied our client was consulting directly with the White House. It never went live, but the draft was found on Liberty One's server. Metadata shows it was accessed using your credentials. I froze. That's impossible. I never touched it. Karen didn't accuse. She simply looked at me, calm, waiting. That night, I barely slept. Someone inside Liberty One had used my login to draft a second fake release, bigger than the first. That wasn't just unethical. That was federal-level fraud. I pulled my laptop from my bag, opened the activity log for my company account. Sure enough, one entry stood out. Saturday night, 11:48 p.m. Remote login from a Virginia IP I didn't recognize. Accessed the VIP White House release draft. Saved. Closed. They were setting me up. The agency was hemorrhaging clients. Sasha was gone. The board wanted someone to blame, but not someone powerful. not someone connected. They needed a fall guy with clean hands and no lawyers. Me. By Thursday, the message was clear. HR scheduled a behavioral review. Jordan sent me a vague calendar invite titled Alignment Discussion. Marcy forwarded a new media protocol memo, which, coincidentally, banned employees from speaking to press or government reps without authorization. Subtle. Except it wasn't. At lunch, Morgan found me alone on the rooftop patio. She sat across from me, quiet for a moment. "I know what they're doing," she said. "I saw Marcy printing out the draft with your name on it. I told her it wasn't yours." She said, "Doesn't matter. It's all going in the file." My jaw clenched. "They're building a case." She nodded. "You scared them, Adrian. And scared people rewrite history." I looked at her. "Then I'll write it first." That night, I called Clint Rudman again. "I've got to follow up," I said. By Friday morning, the plan was simple. I wasn't going to hide. I wasn't going to wait for Liberty One to bury me with a fake release and a rigged HR report. I was going to take the truth and set it on fire in the middle of the room. Clint Rudman met me at a diner on the edge of Capitol Square, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and too much ketchup on every table. We sat in the back. He brought his recorder. I brought a flash drive. "This is everything," I told him. "My work logs, login histories. The metadata showing my credentials were used from an external IP after hours. Screenshots of the HR memo changing policy after my interview with ethics. And most damning of all, internal chat logs between Marcy and Jordan discussing how to frame Adrian in the second wave." Clint didn't blink, just nodded slowly. This isn't a story. This is a corporate takedown. A digital hit job." He leaned forward. "You're sure you want to go on the record this time?" I took a breath. "Use my name." He clicked the recorder on. The article dropped Monday morning. Headline: From Whistleblower to Scapegoat. Liberty One's attempt to silence the truth. It spread like wildfire. Clint had done his homework. The piece was airtight, timestamps, quotes, chat logs, everything. A communications expert from Georgetown was quoted saying, "This is textbook institutional retaliation." And because I'd gone on record, national media picked it up. Within 24 hours, I was trending on LinkedIn. By Tuesday, I'd been invited to speak on a segment of PBS NewsHour. But the real shockwave came from Congresswoman Alder's office. She issued a formal statement condemning any retaliation against those who protect factual integrity in public messaging. Without naming me directly, it was clear who she meant. The press secretary role under her was now listed as under review. Liberty One froze. Their client list? Bleeding. Woolbridge Biotech terminated. Trent's campaign cut ties. The board held an emergency session. And on Thursday morning, I got the call. "Adrian, it's Jordan." His voice was tight, measured, controlled panic. "I think there's been miscommunication. The articles created some confusion about our intent. We'd like to offer a resolution, clean separation, strong letter of recommendation, and a 6-month severance." I let the silence stretch. Then, "No." He stumbled. "Excuse me." I stood at my kitchen counter, looking out over the rain-slicked rooftops of Richmond. "I'm not leaving quietly. You framed me. You tried to end my career because I told the truth. I'm not going to settle for a severance package like some intern who missed a deadline." Click. I hung up. That afternoon, the Office of Congressional Ethics issued a formal inquiry request to Liberty One regarding potential document tampering and whistleblower retaliation. Sasha Monroe was already gone. But now Marcy and Jordan were facing the same scrutiny. And me? I was being offered jobs. Other agencies. Think tanks. Even 2PACs. Everyone wanted the guy who stood up to a PR machine and didn't blink. Weeks later, as the dust settled, I stood in front of a glass door with a new logo etched into it. Wyatt and Steele Strategic Communications. They'd created a new role for me, Director of Integrity Operations, responsible for ensuring that no one in that firm ever buried a fact to win a headline. First order of business? Hiring junior analysts who believed in truth over narrative. I kept the flash drive from Liberty One in my desk. Not as a threat. Not as leverage. but as a reminder that silence is a weapon, and the people who count on it most are the ones most afraid of you using your voice. Sasha's name had disappeared from every professional directory. Marcy was pursuing opportunities outside the industry. Jordan moved to a consulting firm in Arizona. Their reputations? Tarnished. Their trustworthiness? Uninsurable. And me? I was just getting started. Because in a world built on spin, the sharpest tool you can carry is the truth.